Listen, 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 listen. This morning I was thinking about some of the verses that's in the Bible. For we know that all things work together for the good for them that who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose, his riches, and his glory. Right? That's very familiar. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. No weapons formed against me shall prosper. Those are the words of the Lord. Those are God's divine words. But God's divine words is also that the Father chastened those who he loved, meaning God chastened or chastised those whom he loved, right? In the Bible, it also says that a father who does not chastise his children hates them. Now, I want to say this. A lot of things that we go through is only for a season, but a lot of things that we go through is for a lesson. And sometimes it is the consequences of our actions. And you can't skip through that. If God has allowed you to go through something to get your attention, that's what it is. Will he be with you in it? Yes. Because the word of the Lord also says, Jesus said, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you. In the Psalms it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. God says that, for I know the thoughts that I have towards you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you an expected end, right? So we have to have balance in the Word of God. I want to remind you that everything that you're going through, every trial, every tribulation that you're going through, it's not necessarily your fault. But sometimes it is the consequences of the things that you've done. And I had to think about that. Because a lot of times we want God to hurry up and rescue us. But if he rescued us too soon, if he changed our circumstances too soon, we won't learn our lesson. And we will be in a continual cycle where we sin. We cry out for God because of the consequences of our sin. God deliver us. We do good for a little while. And then we go back into sin. At some point, we have to learn our lesson. We have to learn how to apply the word of God to our life and live in it. We are not to be in continuous sin. I'm not saying that you won't ever sin, but what I am saying, you should not be in continual sin as a child of God, as a believer in Jesus Christ, as a born again believer. And so I submit to you that sometimes we have to go through the pruning process. And the pruning process is not easy, but it's necessary. Because there's some things in your life, there's some things in my life that we don't want to give up. And then there's some things in our lives that we don't realize is even bad. And so, but in the midst of the pruning, in the midst of the chastising, we learn lessons. And because we learn lessons, we change. Correction brings change. And with that change comes maturity. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Just like being over here with the land of the feet, where the feast of the Lord is going on, is a necessary. Being disciplined is a necessary as well. And sometimes we have to just embrace it and take it like a champ and trust that God is going to bring us out of it. I'll give you an example. Years ago, my husband and I, we found ourselves in a lot of debt. We were in a lot of debt. And one of the things that we had to learn is to be more mindful of getting things. I had to learn how to be more mindful of getting things on credit cards, because that was one of the things that, hey, that credit card would bail me out. But listen, I was dependent on that versus depending on God. And if I'm not careful, I will do it now, because it's easy to go get something, but everything you get, you got to pay it back. If you get it on credit, you got to pay it back. And so if you do sin, you're going to have to pay the consequences. God cannot allow us, just like we as parents cannot just allow our children to do any and everything. Yes, they have choices and we have choices, but there are consequences or benefits. See, when you make the right choice, there's benefits. Oh, there's blessings more abundantly because you've made the right choice, right? But when you make the wrong choice, then there's consequences. Now, I'm not saying that everything that we go through is because we've done something. Some things are simply something that we will eventually be using in the ministry and in life. In the sense of you'll have a testimony to tell somebody else of God's goodness. You'll have a testimony to tell somebody, hey, if God brought me out of this, he can bring you out of it. If God did that miracle for me, he can do the miracle for you. So there's some things that are about that, but there's a lot of things that we're asking God to get us out of. He's not going to, because we haven't learned the lesson yet. And so, yes, again, we have to learn. We have to stay on the potter's wheel. We have to learn to stay on the potter's wheel while the potter is making us. We got to learn how to stay in there while we're being pruned. And in turn, learning to truly trust that God knows what's best for us. At the end of the day, we are not our own. We are bought with a price. And that price is the blood of Christ. If you got anything out of this, I pray, if you don't get anything else out of this, I pray that you got out of this that trust God the more. Try to be obedient to the word of God. But when you're going through something, go to God in prayer and be patient. Patiently waiting for God to help you to come out of it. Once you have learned your lessons, apply them to your life. Anyway, this has been EB3, speaking the truth in love. Be blessed, be a blessing, and I am out.